Decades. At first light over the Nile Delta, small aircraft dropped low across the cotton fields and released a fine white mist. Then, over the course of a few years, the planes stopped coming, and the harvests went up, not by a little. Roughly 30% more raw cotton off fields that were now receiving about a tenth of the pesticide they used to. That is a strange sentence, and this is the story of how it became true. It starts about 60 kilometers northeast of Cairo, on a piece of ground that grew nothing at all. In 1977, a man named Ibrahim Abouleish bought 70 hectares of it. There was no well, no road, no electricity, no shade, no soil. Abouleish was not a farmer. He was an Egyptian chemist and pharmacologist who had left for Austria at 19, built a career in Graz developing medicines, and spent 21 years there. He came home on a visit in the mid-70s and found a country he did not recognize. Crowding, polluted water, exhausted land, and villages where the spray planes flew directly over the houses. So he did something faintly absurd. He bought the emptiest ground he could find and set out to build living soil where there had never been any. Here is why that was harder than it sounds. The standard way to green a desert is to drill for water, irrigate hard, and pour on mineral fertilizer. It works briefly. Sand holds almost no water and almost no nutrients, so everything you add runs straight past the roots. Irrigation pulls salt up to the surface, and the crop becomes permanently dependent on the next delivery of chemicals. Abouleish's bet was that you don't feed the plant, you build the ground underneath it, and let the ground do the feeding. He chose a method called biodynamic farming, an approach from the 1920 that treats a farm as one self-contained organism, with its own animals, its own compost, its own cycle. Parts of its philosophy are frankly hard to defend in a laboratory. But what he actually did on that sand was not mysterious at all. He drilled a well. He planted thousands of casuarina and eucalyptus trees in long rows to stop the wind stripping everything he laid down. And then he composted, manure, straw, crop residue, hauled in by the truckload and turned into long windrows that steamed in the cold desert mornings. This is the unglamorous center of the whole story, not a breakthrough. A heap turned for years. Slowly, the sand changed color. It began to hold water instead of swallowing it. Herbs went in first: chamomile, calendula, medicinal plants Abouleish knew how to sell because he knew the pharmaceutical trade. He called the place SEKEM, after an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph meaning vitality from the sun. By the late 1980s, SEKEM was a working farm with a business attached. It could have stopped there a nice, small, self-contained miracle. Instead, it walked into a fight with the most protected crop in the country: Egyptian cotton. Long staple, world famous, a serious source of hard currency, and by some distance, the most heavily sprayed thing growing in Egypt. The enemy was mostly one insect, the pink bollworm, a small moth whose larvae burrow into the ball and eat the fiber from the inside, out of reach of almost anything you spray. So Egypt sprayed from the air, across whole districts at once, season after season. And season after season, the problem got worse. This is the part that matters. Broad-spectrum insecticide doesn't only kill the pest, it kills the spiders, the ladybirds, the parasitic wasps, the predators that had been quietly eating bollworm eggs for free. Strip those out, and the next outbreak arrives with nothing to hold it back. The survivors breed resistance. You spray more to get the same result. It is a treadmill, and Egypt had been running on it for 30 years. Around 1990, SEKEM started growing cotton without any of it. The core tool was a pheromone trap, and the idea behind it is beautifully simple. Female moths release a scent to attract males. Chemists can copy that scent exactly, flood a field with it, and every male spends the night chasing a signal that leads nowhere. No poison, no resistance, just confusion. Alongside it, released predator insects, hand collection of infested bolls, and rotations that break the pest's life cycle before it can build. It worked on SEKEM land, but a demonstration on your own farm proves nothing to a ministry. Every convert has a beautiful field. So SEKEM did the thing that actually moves policy. It ran the trials on other people's farms, with the Egyptian Ministry of Agriculture watching, on ordinary land, at ordinary scale. In the mid-1990s, Egypt banned aerial crop dusting on cotton outright. Within a few years, Pesticide use across Egyptian cotton had fallen by roughly 90%. Yields rose by about 30%, which sounds like magic until you remember what the spraying had been doing. The predators came back. The resistance treadmill stopped. The plants were no longer being chemically stressed every fortnight. Removing the intervention was the intervention. Be fair about the limits. Egypt's cotton sector was changing for other reasons. Too acreage was shrinking, subsidies shifting. SEKEM did not do all of it alone, but it supplied the proof, the traps, the training, and the argument at the moment the country needed one. Abouleish founded the Egyptian Biodynamic Association in 1990 to spread the method to farms that had never heard of him. He took the Right Livelihood Award for it in 2003. SEKEM went on to build a pharmaceutical company, a textile business, a school, and in 2012, a university out in the same desert. Abouleish died in 2017. His son Helmi runs it now, and the original 70 hectares are still there, dark and cool underfoot, holding water sand that was talked into becoming soil, one turned heap at a time. The transferable lesson isn't really about compost. It's that a working alternative only changes a country when someone bothers to prove it on the skeptic's own ground, in the skeptic's own trial, with the skeptic's own numbers. If you want the full breakdown, the trial timeline, the pheromone trap economics, and what it would take to run this same play on another crop in another country, it's in the link in the description.